Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Affinity call on successful student and parent virtual engagement during COVID-19. FCAN would like to thank our cornerstone funder, Helios Education Foundation, and our sponsor, Wells Fargo, for the generous support of the College Ready Florida initiatives. I am your host today, Laverne Hanfield, Programs Coordinator with the Florida College Access Network. And we have two great presenters joining us today. First, I am delighted to welcome Carol Lopez, who is currently serving as the supervisor for college and career readiness and supporting school counselors and brace advisors for Broward County. She has served in the education profession as a teacher and school counselor and beyond for 20 years. Carol advocates for students' post-secondary attainment through community outreach in Broward County and as the co-chair of the local college access network, Bridge to Life. Carol has been honored as one of the 100 2018 Outstanding Women of Broward County and was also named as one of FCAN's unsung heroes for her recovery work during the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School tragedy. Carol is passionate about education and the future of today's youth. I am also thrilled to welcome Sharon Krantz, who is the Executive Director of the Division of Student Services for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Sharon has worked as a school counselor and Student Services Department Chair for both middle and senior high schools for over 25 years prior to becoming a district administrator. In her role as Executive Director, she directly oversees the College Assistance Program, which is Miami-Dade County Public Schools post-secondary planning and college access program in all of the district's high schools. Thank you both for joining us today, Carol and Sharon. Before we dive into the presentation today, a few housekeeping items. If you are familiar with FCAN's webinars, usually all participants are muted, but because of the format today, we'd like you all to share some strategies on how you have been engaging students and parents in virtual engagement. And I'll be going over those additional ways to participate later in the webinar. We will allot time at the end for any questions, but you can submit them at any time, and I encourage you to do so. You can use the questions and/or chat boxes in the control panel, which you should see on the right of your screen if you're viewing from a desktop computer. And finally, this is being recorded. All the slides and recordings will be available within a week of today's call. Very briefly, I'd like to go over what these Affinity calls are for those of you who may be new. If you are new, welcome. This is a time specifically for counselors to come together to share with each other. Florida is a fairly large state, so aside from all the conferences that only happen once a year that have now been happening virtually, you may only get to see what other schools are doing through newsletters, email blasts, and possibly social media. Hearing someone else talk about their program could spark an idea in you to add a new feature to your existing program, implement something completely new, or discover a new resource. The intention of these calls is threefold: to create a space for you to share your best practices for programs around FCAN's College Ready Florida initiatives in conjunction with the email blasts if you are subscribed to the College Ready Florida coordinators mailing list, to highlight the great work you're doing in preparing students for college and career, and also to provide resources from local and state partners. We hope to have some school counselors or mentors like yourself as featured presenters on future calls, as well as LCANs on how they can provide support for you if one is in your region or county. If there are topics that you'd like FCAN to highlight in future Affinity calls, please make sure to fill out the post-webinar survey and let us know. We would greatly appreciate it. So diving into the material for today, as you all may have seen in the Inside Higher Ed article, Common App has reported receiving 8% fewer applications through November 2nd compared to last year, with applications from first-generation students and those eligible for application fee waivers down 16%. The National College Attainment Network, also known as NCAN, also reported that national FAFSA completion numbers were down 16% in November compared to last year completion numbers. As of November 27th, as you can see on this slide, FAFSA completions are also down by 16% in Florida compared to last year's completion numbers at this time. And as you know, students' ability to get necessary hands-on assistance has been severely limited by the pandemic since it has caused schools to operate remotely. Students must now schedule a Zoom or Teams meeting with their counselor instead of just walking down to their office. Schools aren't hosting in-person presentations from colleges and universities. Students are engaging in virtual campus tours from their homes. So some students may feel less inclined to engage in school since their resources are no longer physically at the tips of their fingers. And these restrictions may mean, they may feel that these restrictions mean support is no longer available to them, which is not true. So since the pandemic, many programs and initiatives have formed to continue supporting students and families virtually, while some were already in place and have seen an increase in engagement due to everyone and everything adapting virtually. This past spring, we hosted 2 counselor affinity calls highlighting such virtual adaptations. In April, we hosted Jessica Manchek, Vice President for Champions for Learning, which is the Education Foundation in Collier County. She presented on their walkthrough videos of the process to create an FSA ID and to complete the FAFSA and other resources, which can be found at the link on the screen, championsforlearning.org/resources. We also heard in May from Anthony Cook, coordinator of College and Career Services for the School District of Osceola County, and Jonathan Millian, College Assistance Program Advisor, also known as CAP Advisors, at Jose Marti Mast 6 through 12 Academy in Miami-Dade to discuss how their district and school respectively were pivoting their college decision day activities to virtual, which they both saw were major successes. So, as you can see, not all schools and districts are seeing the shift to virtual college and career readiness support as a challenge. You may not either, but you are joining today to hear some new things that you can do to support students and parents during this time. 2 of those districts who have been doing very well in pivoting their virtual supports, Broward County and Miami-Dade, are eager to share with you all what their districts have successfully been doing to engage students and parents virtually during COVID-19. And I'm very excited for you to learn from them. So now we will hear from Carol. The floor is yours, Carol.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laverne. So I am going to start, like Laverne said, I am the College and Career Supervisor for Broward County Public Schools, and just wanted to mention a little bit about our school system. Let's see. Laverne, if you can advance the slides because it's not letting me from my end.
I think you should be good to go now, Carol.
Okay. All right, so we are the 6th largest school district in the nation and 2nd right after Miami-Dade. And we have 268,000 students with 241 schools. 32 of these are traditional high schools, but we serve 16,000 seniors that we see graduate on a yearly basis. And we really want to increase the priority of college and career plans. So it's written on our strategic plan. And as you can see, through these opportunities, we have graduates that complete dual enrollment in AP and ACE, and 93% of our students take the SAT, and we are a College Board district. So all of our students are able to take these tests for free. 66% of our students are on free and reduced lunch, and yet still our FAFSA completion rates are at 45%. As you know, the challenges are that our ratios are very high. We have an average 500 to 1 student counselor ratio. And a lot of these counselors are spending their time doing other duties as assigned instead of doing direct services for our students. One of the amazing things that we have in Broward County is our BRACE advisors, which are Broward Advisors for Continuing Education. And they are responsible for all of the post-secondary work that goes in this college and career process. So, and some of their with our initiatives, we always focus on the 4 E's, which is enroll in a college, university, technical college, employ, enlist in the military, or explore through a gap year. And then, of course, they're responsible for financial aid, FAFSA, scholarships, grants, and everything else. So we said, now that we're in this virtual space, how can the district help, right? And how can we really meet the student and the parents where they're at right now, which is virtually. And so we thought about it, and we really wanted to shift college and career culture. So by shifting, we wanted to make sure that not only were we learning with students what was working, what was not, we also observed, again, where are kids at, where are the parents, what do they need, and continue to adjust. And that for us really meant innovating. And to innovate is to shift that college and career culture. So we use technology. So in our district, we're using Teams and Microsoft. So we're using the technology. We have, the skills based of our district staff and our BRACE advisors. We're using data to really talk about what are students needing, right? We did a pre-survey to find out what do you need to learn more about. And so, and we just, again, want to meet our students where they're at. And we know that is behind a screen, just like all of us. So with that, we wanted to make sure that through all of the things that we were doing, that we ensured that our students had hope still, and hope which really equals to access. Oh, sorry about that. Let's continue here. So of course we have our amazing partners, which is our Bridge to Life, which is our college access network. And we really align our goals of Broward County Public Schools and Bridge to Life to meet. And we wanted to leverage all of our community partners in this new world that we're living in, right? So we used all of Broward Bridge to Life resources, or community partners, business partners, college partners, industry certifications, and Bridge to Life even offered us some initiatives and helped us with marketing to help what has become our college and career nights. And so as you can see here, what we did is we said, what are kids needing, and what do we need to talk to them about? And so we created College and Career Corner Wednesdays. And this event happens every single week from 6 to 7 p.m. And so we said, we are going to start off in September with our college and career platform, Naviance. Then we, in October, which is FAFSA season, talk about financial aid. And as you can see, then we went down the list, college applications. Then we had our college and career fair with Broward Bridge to Life, and we wanted to highlight that, and that was on a Wednesday. And we talked about Bright Futures, local scholarship, career technical. And so all of a sudden, when we looked at our numbers through these team live events, we were getting 400, 500, 700 people at a time. And it really gave us the opportunity to not only service our Broward kids, but we sent this to Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, so anybody has access to it. So if somebody needs to learn about this, they have access. And one of the things that we said is we wanted to give people not an obstacle, an opportunity. So we recorded all of these events that, let's say that maybe I, as a parent, had to work late that day or couldn't get on. Everything is recorded. And so they can watch on demand any of our College and Career Corner Wednesdays. This has become so popular that now some of our community partners are reaching out to us instead of us reaching out to them saying, okay, we need a day. We need a day that you can slide us in. So we are all the way booked with our presentations all the way through the end of March right now. So that is one amazing thing that has come out of this, is that we're able to reach people where they're at, able to record these sessions and really give students what they need, because we do give a survey every time we do these college and career corners. What else do you want to know about? What else can we help you with? And that's how we're really filling up these spots. And very quickly, as you can see, and you want to go ahead and just, yep. I want to hyperlink this real quick. Oh. So as you can see, this is where we host all of our college and career corners. We have something called Canvas in our district, is where we're able to not only host these recordings here, but have classes as well. So I'll go over in the next slides how we have created courses for our students for college and career readiness too. So they can just literally click on each and every one of these links, and it is available, again, open. It is not private, available to anybody. And one of the things that we talked about was, how can we help, right? How can we help our BRACE advisors? How can we help our school counselors just really, with all this work, right? So what we're saying is that we're doing the work and you don't have to recreate the wheel. And so here, as you can see, we've also created Canvas courses, and we created for seniors. So all the school counselor, the teacher, the BRACE advisor has to do is copy all of our content into their page, and then they can customize it, right, for whatever school they're in. So again, we're making sure that as a district, we're being supportive to all of our BRACE advisors and our community leaders to really try to use the same language. So here is our Canvas course for seniors, and again, it's open. Here's one for our high school students, and this is grades 9 through 11th, and we go from everything from Naviance to FAFSA to ACT to financial aid, SAT. So we really try to highlight all of the work, and every one of those little icons back there are all different links for students to continue to click on. And of course, we have our middle school courses too. And we wanted to, again, make sure that everybody's speaking the same language, that we are making it easier for school-based staff to be able to have all of the resources that are needed to be successful. And I just wanted to make sure that, with our college and career courses, that we're also highlighting Naviance. So we have created lesson plans and videos that are just a quick play, and the students can go right through the activity with us. And so we had so much success with our college and career corner Wednesdays that we decided to do FAFSA nights live too. And all of that, we did 4 live FAFSA events and reached probably over 2,100 students and families, where we celebrated the whole process. We went through and through. It is a heavy lift, but we can, if you want to know more about that, you can start off small. And we also have this recorded. So again, let's say that I couldn't join the FAFSA session for my school, then I can go back and watch it and do step by step with the presenter who is presenting the FAFSA. We had so much success with this that we've also created a Spanish version that we did last week, and we have a Haitian Creole session that we're doing this week. And again, one amazing thing that we're able to do is collaborate and bring our partners together. And, I asked Sharon for help, and Palm Beach for help. Like, we need people to help us, with volunteers that speak these different languages for help. So it's really important to start building that army. And so again, just wanted to show you the FAFSA website that we had for each event. And one of the things that we really did is market this so that students, it wasn't just like you come to FAFSA night. It was something like, hey, this is your school. We're calling you out. This is for you. Do not miss out. If you're in this school, you need to come this day. If you're in this school, you need to come this day. And throughout the presentation, we made sure that we call them out like, hey, Pompano, where are you at? Northeast, where are you at? That way they know, and they're just really in tune with what we're doing. Again, all live and recorded. And this is the opportunity that we're able to have with this new virtual world. Like always, I always want to highlight the amazing work that our Brace cadets are doing in the CCLR space, because they're helping us promote everything, right? And they're telling their friends, saying, hey, did you go to the financial aid meeting? Did you know about the college and career? And they're doing their own things on our social media and in their own clubs and at schools, and using our information. So if we did a Bright Futures presentation that's already recorded, they're able to go back to their schools or to their little communities and just literally click and play. So we're really creating these toolkits for everyone to use. And I just have to say that if you're not following our Brace cadets on social media, please do, specifically on Instagram. They're looking for over 5,000 followers. I think we're a little bit over 1,000 followers. So I just wanted to plug that in. And so again, we just really wanted to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our parents and our students and helping our staff along the way. So I'll let Sharon take it over now.
Thank you so much, Carol. And yes, if you are able to, you definitely should follow the Brace Cadets on social media. They are a great example of ways that you can engage your students and have your students engage other students in your school. So I will, as Carol said, Sharon, the floor is yours and you should be able to control slides.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to thank FCAN for inviting me this afternoon to share what we're doing in our district, Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I am Executive Director in the Division of Student Services, and through our division, we oversee our CAP program, which is our College Assistance Program. I was reflecting this morning on this presentation, and I thought how excited I was to be presenting on best practices for this virtual world, because I can remember back pre-COVID when it first began, thinking about the challenges and wondering how are we going to keep things going. So it's really exciting to be able to share some of the things we did and how we pivoted in our district. But our theme is really virtually connecting with the emphasis on connecting, because we think that's really important to be able to connect with families, stakeholders, advisors, everyone, with students, obviously, but really to keep that at the forefront of how are we going to connect. And some of the wins we've had in connecting are really exciting to share today. So thank you. As I said at the beginning of the pandemic, when we realized that we were going virtual, we had some things going on, as we all did. We were about to roll out a new college planning tool, SCORE. For those of you who have not heard of SCORE, it's a what I call a new age Naviance, but it's a new college planning tool that's out there that our district had just signed a contract for. We were talking about how to train all of our advisors and get it out to students. We were working on college signing day and college decision day. We were planning for our NACAC fair in February. We were talking about fall fairs and how we were going to get all the schools on board for that. And we were rolling out a new initiative called CARS, College Application Readiness Symposium, which were really boot camps for rising seniors that we were doing at the end of the school year. So of course, our team sat down to reflect on how are we going to keep all of these things going and what are our priorities as we're moving forward into this virtual world. And honestly, we did have access to Zoom prior to the pandemic, but we were a little hesitant to use it. Oftentimes we were afraid that people weren't tech savvy or they wouldn't connect. So we weren't really using it as readily as we obviously are now. So the three things we wanted to focus on when we were beginning this pivot to the virtual world was we wanted to focus on professional development for counselors and college advisors. We believe that a well-informed, trained, and connected advisors who have the most current information is the best way to help our students. So we always put a focus on really pertinent professional development to develop their skills. We're always having new advisors come on, and we want to make sure that they have the most up-to-date information. So how are we going to continue with that in the virtual world? We obviously were concerned about equity and access for families. Obviously, there's some disparity in which families had connections to the internet and had computers and all of the resources. So we wanted to make sure that there was equity and access for all families. And we, again, as I said, we wanted to make sure that we were communicating with all stakeholders, with our local colleges, with our parents, and with all of the community resources that we normally would communicate with. How are we going to keep that going? So I did my slides kind of before, pre-COVID and after COVID. I think that's sort of how we all look at our lives right now. So these are some pictures from our PDs last year. So all of our PDs were in person and face-to-face, sharing information, interacting. Most of our information was one way. The district shared the resources and the information with the CAP advisors. We did try on several different times to come up with a collaboration site, because one of the best things about the CAP program is that the advisors help each other and share information. So we had tried to get some type of collaboration site, but honestly, just because of time, people never really took to it and really shared information. So the information was really going one way, usually through email from me to them, scholarship information and training. And most CAP advisors were carrying out this work on their own at the school site. So I would provide training, and then each school site would be doing their own activities, their FAFSA nights, their college fairs, and so on. So after COVID, what did professional development look like? Well, you see a picture of our Zoom webinars. We immediately started training on Zoom. As I said, we were rolling out SCORE, our college planning tool. I was super panicked that we, at that moment, were rolling out this tool to all 65 of our high schools, and with our charter schools, it came out to close to 90 schools that we were involved with alternative centers and our charter schools and our ESE centers. It was almost 90 schools that we were trying to roll out this tool. We wanted very much to roll it out because of the fact that we thought it would help with our equity and access, in that all students would have access to it at every school. But at the same time, as we know, whenever you have a new product, training is really important. So we immediately began doing trainings for CAP advisors and school counselors on SCORE almost immediately as soon as the pandemic started. We were super nervous about it. SCORE was really wonderful in supporting us, where we did many trainings. I think we did 10 or 12 trainings in 2 weeks. We started with a small focus group to kind of see where the needs were in terms of the training, and then we provided many opportunities for trainings where they signed up. You'll also see on this slide a calendar where we list all of our trainings for both counselors and CAP advisors, and we are continually doing trainings. But in addition to our normal trainings, we started doing what we're calling power hours, which we just absolutely love, because in a power hour, we're able to give updates about during the middle of the pandemic, when things were changing for graduation requirements and new graduation codes. We were able to have a 1-hour meeting, so we didn't take people away for a whole day. And we were able to have a very focused topic. These power hours have been extremely popular. It's a way for us to get information out and to keep our stakeholders informed. And like Carol, we record all of them, and we have them available through our Microsoft Teams channel for CAP advisors. And so we've been able to share resources through our Microsoft Teams, which we finally have our collaboration site. And what's so wonderful about the collaboration site and sharing information and really advisors developing each other is that they will post a question on there, and then another advisor will answer, or they'll say, you know, do you all know where I can find a resource for such and such? We also keep files in there. It's a way we've been able to put out training videos for SCORE. So we have shorter, more robust trainings where people can access it at their leisure, which has been really helpful. And I think now folks are using the collaboration site because you kind of have to use this virtual world. So it's not something extra they have to do. It's just really become a part of what they do every day. Moving forward, the equity and access part is very important to us. We believe that no matter what the zip code a student lives in, they should have access and equitable access to good advisement for post-secondary planning. Like I said earlier, before the pandemic, all of our high schools were doing their own college fairs. We had our annual NACAC fair, which we had assistance on, but most all other activities were happening at the school sites by the CAP advisor. That's why I needed to keep everyone trained and informed to make sure that there was some equity and that all schools were doing a good job of having their fairs and their FAFSA events. But we know that colleges prefer to go to some schools as to others. So really we started reflecting when we were going to go to the virtual world, how were we going to improve this equity for all students? So what we did was in the summer, I really reflected a lot of what are we going to do about college fairs? Because as I said, most of our schools had very large college fairs. Sometimes they had 150 colleges coming to some of our larger high schools. And how are we going to have college fair in this virtual world? So I put a committee together in the summer about what can we do about college fair. And we talked about hosting our own college fair. In fact, I met with Carol and her team and thought about doing something with them. But what we decided to do for the college fair part was to just to really promote the NACAC fairs, because we are a NACAC fair district anyway. And so we said, let's promote the NACAC fairs, but we're going to do College Month in October, which is the month where most schools have their college fairs. And we're going to really make sure that we cover all sorts of topics that are important right now. So we had this committee of CAP advisors who came up with what is on the minds of the advisors and the students in our district. And we came up with College Month. Now, one of the things we wanted to make sure was, we know in the NACAC fairs that usually their Ivy League colleges don't usually attend, nor do you see a lot of representation from HBCUs. So we wanted to make sure that in our College Month that we included both of those areas. Laverne, if you could click on the College Month, if you could make that, I can show everyone the actual flyer up close. I believe it's hyperlinked so that we can. So this was our College Month flyer that we created. And within the flyer, we had links to all of the events. So we started off the month with our Fafsa webinar, because obviously October 1st, the opening of Fafsa, we wanted to make sure to include that. We did something for parents on SCORE. We included Raise Me on here because so many of our students go to FIU, which is a Raise Me school. And we also, in that Raise Me presentation, we wanted to include 9th and 10th graders, like underclassmen, in this College Month, because they really talked, they did a great presentation on making sure that everyone understood that college is a 4-year journey. I'm going to get back to the state university system presentation in a moment. We promoted the October NACAC College Fair, but we also promoted the others, but that was the big one we tried to promote. You can see that we did something for Ivy League, how to make your Ivy League application stand out, because we wanted to make sure that our students were having information about that. We did something for students with disabilities. We really wanted to cover all of our groups to make sure that we were covering all the needs of all of our students to understand and receive assistance for post-secondary planning. We were very proud to host a historically Black colleges and universities fair. We had 25 colleges attend, colleges that don't normally attend our HBCU fair. So we were really proud of that. And we also did something with our technical colleges. The last link on there, what we did for the Ivy Leagues is we created a document where we put all of the Ivy League institutions, and then we had the links to their sessions and live seminars. So we really wanted to make sure that students in Miami-Dade had access to information about Ivy Leagues, because we don't want them to go to fairs and not see Ivy Leagues and feel like that means they don't belong there, because we feel our students belong there just as much as any other community. So we wanted to make sure that they had access to that, and easy access to that. If we go back to the calendar of events, I wanted to talk about the State University event, because some of the folks on the call might have attended that event. We started the conversation with Jody Glassman, the admissions director at FIU, who is a wonderful partner of ours in Miami-Dade County, about doing like a SUS meeting for parents, because there was so much anxiety out there, as everyone knows in our state, about tests, scores, and admissions to college using SAT and ACT. So Jody immediately contacted all of the other state university admissions directors, and all of them joined this webinar. Obviously, we opened it up to the whole state, and I believe other folks from around the state might have attended, but really that kind of started as part of our College Month activities. Over 1,000 families, 1,000 folks were on that call. Each of the state universities recorded it and has it on their site. And if you haven't heard it, you really should think about it, because it was wonderful to hear how supportive the admissions directors were. They really helped reduce the anxiety of families who are so upset and disconnected from everything that's happening, worrying about their students not having the opportunity to have taken the test. The other thing I want to say about College Month, it was super successful. At our very first event, the Fafsa Webinar, we had over 700 people sign on, and we recorded all of the events. So then we created, at the end of the month, we created a flyer similar to this one, where now there's links to all of the recordings. And so all of the CAP advisors have that, and they share that out. And you can see each of the links, it's hyperlinked. So then there's a flyer for that particular event. And what happens then is that we ask schools to tweet it, to share it through all of their communications. So really, as I said at the beginning, virtually connecting. We wanted to make sure that families were connected with this information. And every single event, we had we had close to 200 on every single event, which was really wonderful. And they're recorded, and we're often asked for the recording. So for us, that was the way that we made sure that all the schools were getting the information, all the students. And really, it made sense, because instead of every school doing a FAFSA presentation, every school doing something about ESE or state universities, we were able to connect with all the students in our district and then have it recorded. So yeah, so we can go back to the PowerPoint. So the middle picture you'll see is all the state universities admissions directors from that call that we talked about. And then really wanted to say also that College Month went so well in our district that our next big thing that we're trying to do is FAFSA. I've been talking to Carol and picking her brain a little bit about how they're doing FAFSA completion events in their district, because I am currently working with Miami-Dade College, and we're going to be doing some FAFSA completion events, probably 2 a month, and we'll do something very similar where we'll make a flyer, we'll make sure that it's tweeted, that we use social media, we've involved our communications office. The one thing I do want to tell everyone is that we did purchase the Zoom webinar as a way to expand our access, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't limited to 300 that's on our regular Zoom. We wanted to make sure that we would have access for, our over 20,000 seniors. We didn't know how many would show up. And we also wanted to be able to collaborate with the community. So I shared my calendar with Broward and Palm Beach, as they have shared their information with me, and invited everyone. That's one of the things that's beautiful about these virtual events, is that you can share them with others. Moving on. Communication with stakeholders. This is obviously super important. Like, how do we communicate? How do we communicate with our colleges and our parents and our students? And like I said earlier, most of my communication with CAP was one way, through emails. You can see there's an email there with information about one of the scholarships. After COVID, I think I've already said that we have Microsoft Teams with a CAP channel. We collaborate with our communications office where they put on our Miami-Dade County Public Schools Twitter information. You can see right there on that slide that they tweeted about our HBCU fair. It's funny that when they tweeted about our technical college, I was getting calls. We were doing our Dade County Public School technical colleges, but I started getting calls from all of these private technical colleges asking me to be a part of it. And I was like, how did you hear about it? And it was through Twitter. So really, social media has been really a good way to communicate. I didn't realize how many people follow our district on social media, and we've been able to get the information out. And then you can see on the left, that's the CAP channel. And you can see that counselors put up information, and then they each share resources through the CAP channel, which really has been tremendous. Our CAP advisors also use Teams in their school. And one of the great things about SCORE is SCORE has a communication tool within SCORE. So our CAP advisors have been communicating about scholarships, about college visits, and all those types of things through SCORE. SCORE also has a way that counselors can set up college visits. So they've been scheduling their college visits through SCORE, and then either during lunch or during or after school, they've hosted college visits, as well as several of my CAP advisors have office hours where they have like a staggered schedule at school where they'll leave school early and then have office hours after school. Well, they'll just be on their Teams and they'll open it up, and then they'll have a waiting room and the students can come in and speak with them if they need one-on-one help. Lastly, I just want to say that really for me, communicating from the district level has been tremendous using through this pandemic. I am now connected with with Broward and Palm Beach. I'm attending, we're having bi-monthly meetings. Before, when we would try to meet, it was always difficult because we had to drive and come up with an area, so we're able to share information. I just recently had a meeting with the financial aid director at Miami-Dade College. It's not something I've ever done before, but it's just much easier to connect with folks and to really make sure that we are sharing information and doing things for students. So for me, it's much easier. I'm sure you all would agree that to take an hour and have a Zoom and then you don't have to get in your car and go anywhere. It's really been great. So I think for us, really communication, keeping up to date, and making sure that all of our families have the same access to information has been key to our success. And like I said, we were so excited about College Month that we're now planning some big Fafsa events, and we want to continue to do things from the district level out to all of our stakeholders. So thank you for allowing me this opportunity this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Sharon, and thank you, Carol, as well for presenting. Thank you. Now we will take questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please submit them in the questions box to the right. If you're viewing from a desktop computer, if you have time today, and if anyone would like to verbally share some of their virtual engagement strategies, we would also love to hear from you. So you can also use the raise your hand feature on the control panel, and I can unmute you and call on you so you can share if that is something that you would like to do. So right now we'll get into questions. We included a questions box in the registration, so you were able to submit a question beforehand if you chose to do so. So thank you if you have. If you haven't, that's totally fine. We do, again, still have the questions box. And I also want to quickly remind everyone, Carol mentioned the BRACE advisors, and I want to just put out there that FCAN did do a webinar speaking about the BRACE advisors in the spring, so you can find that webinar recording on the FCAN website. The direct link is very hard to say all, so you can go to floridacollegeaccess.org/events, and you can click on past webinars, and you'll see all of our past webinars. It was presented this spring. So
it was about the BRACE cadets.
BRACE cadets, so
not
sorry.
Advisors. It's okay.
So sorry. Yes, the BRACE cadets. So we will get into these questions. So both Carol and Sharon, are these virtual programs now, are they just all offered virtually? There are no in-person events happening? I know some schools are still in-person, some are online. So are there any limited in-person events that are still happening?
So we, 80% of our school is virtual. So there are some students in our school district that are going to schools, brick and mortar. But unfortunately, a lot of the, social distancing guidelines still exist. So there's one-on-ones that are happening at the schools. Schools now have been teaming up with maybe another school to provide FAFSA nights. They're doing their own kind of, webinars where they have like a Friday that they just talk about the different webinars that they're hosting. But a lot of the things that require for it to be many people have to be done virtually because of social distancing guidelines.
It's the same in our district. Our advisors are all in the schools, but more than 50% of our students are home. When it comes to seniors, probably it's a much larger percent. So they are available at the school, but they're mostly doing everything virtually, and the events are all virtual. Obviously, we don't want a lot of people in one space. That's why the FAFSA events have been a little bit more challenging, because a lot of times that was one-on-one. So I'm trying to learn from others, and I know you have an event tomorrow night about virtual FAFSA, because I'm trying to learn the best way to do that virtually, because that really usually is a one-on-one type information for some families. So yes.
And how do you engage with those remote students? I know the in-person students, you can see all the flyers and posters and everything around school. How are you engaging with the remote students to encourage them to come onto these virtual events?
So one thing for us is, just like Sharon said, we have to promote. So we're with our public information office, we promote through our Brace Cadets, through our local college access network. We also, like Sharon, have our power hours called our Brace Huddle, that we meet with our Brace advisors every other week to just discuss best practices. So any information that we have it, promoted to them so that they can promote it to the schools, put it on our website. And then we like to market to our kids too. So if it's, a specific event that's just for specific schools, we like to call them out and do parent links. And one of the strategies just during an event that's really successful is that we celebrate with them. So throughout the presentation, we're calling them out, like, are you guys still with me? Let's keep this energy. So just celebrating their successes along the way, because, we are zoomed out, and these presentations sometimes it's like another hour of somebody's day. So we have to make sure that we're constantly engaging and keeping our energy up, so that students are, finding our energy infectious and kind of like, okay, if they're excited about this, we're excited too.
Yep. And in our district, very similar to what Carol said, the only thing I want to add is that many of our advisors are doing classroom visits through their classrooms. So they'll go to like the English teacher for all of their senior visits or their financial aid, and then they'll let them know for all those students who kind of aren't really great in the large class, this is when I'm available. These are my office hours. And many of them are doing open hours during lunch, where they can kind of, just like they would maybe have an open office hour, well, they'll set up a Zoom or a Teams meeting during lunch where students can come in and ask their individual questions.
That is very great to know. And a great transition. Carly would like to know, for both of you, for your virtual events, were you, Carol and Sharon, actually presenting on the topics yourselves, or were you mostly outsourcing and having other resources present the information?
So we're lucky to this year have additional staff in our department. It's been amazing. So I have some staff members with me, and I don't want, and one of the things that's, as we're discussing this, because I'm like, from my boss, my director, he's like, we need to be innovative. And I'm like, we need to be innovative. So I'm bringing back to my staff, like, we're going to have this. And everybody's like cringing, like, did she say that we're going to be working from 6 to 7 p.m.? And so at first we were all so nervous about doing these team live events. We've never done it. We practice. And so we learned that we needed 3 people technically to run this event. And I am a doer, so I will take lead on on anything first. So I think that is just so people can feel comfortable. So the first Naviance one, I absolutely conducted it myself. And then one of my team members did the Q&A, because with like Teams live, you have to kind of have a producer role and send the live event as the person's talking, and that person then has to answer the Q&A. So we found that producer role also was needed extra help. So we figured 3 people max would be a good number. Sometimes we have more. I have to say my team is amazing, and all of them are like, I'll help. And I was like, I don't want to burn you guys out. So we've done three people per team. So the producer, the presenter, and the person that answers the Q&A. And with the Q&A, through the Teams live event, it's really cool because it's just like this. Like you can't, like nobody can come on camera. The questions can be filtered on what you want to, put out there for everybody to see, or if it's something inappropriate, you can just dismiss it. So it's nice to have like somebody handling the Q&A, somebody to present, and somebody to be the producer. With our college and career nights, even though our team started to be presenters, we've gotten so popular that people are asking us, how can we present? So we have, the Air Force came and did a whole presentation. We just did a little, a practice run with them. College Board is coming in to speak next week. We have the ESOL department coming in to speak today. It's today, Wednesday. So now we're becoming so popular that what we were doing before, we were taking them on. We have partners now coming in and helping us with that.
Yeah. So for me, this is the most I've presented probably at any time today. My advisors are true experts. I have incredible advisors. So our Fafsa event was done by 2 of our advisors. Our HBCU fair was led by our advisors. But we also partnered, like SCORE did a presentation, Raise Me did a presentation, our Office of ESC did a presentation. So we engaged our community partners and people. I get calls all the time from people wanting to do an event. So I personally have never had to, but I was at everyone. And like Carol said, it was kind of a producer role, making sure everything's ready to go. And my team assisted from my district team, but I didn't personally present at any of them.
Thank you. Linda would like to know, this is kind of a 2-part question. First part is for you, Carol. The second part is for both of you. Carol, how did you communicate the College and Career Corner events to parents? And then to both of you, did you offer any incentives for students and parents to attend the Fafsa nights?
So we communicated through every means possible. So again, through our PIO office, through our, we have something called Parent Link, where with like these robocalls that get sent to students, and emails and text messages, through social media, and then of course through our weekly huddles with our brace advisors to make sure that they were advertising it, just like we were advertising it in our websites. They were also advertising it, and some schools, of course, go in the extra mile and do it in their morning announcements, or tweet it out or whatever. So as much as we can get it out, that's something that we've seen an increase, right? We've seen an increase from our first Naviance one, which was 400 students. Now we're sometimes at 700. As far as the incentives, we are super lucky that our local college access network had some funds to provide incentives for our students who completed the FAFSA. So even as we were talking about our presentations, we had a whole stop, and it was a little form, a Google form, that if you complete your FAFSA and get it in by October 31st, you are eligible for a $20 gift card. So that was really helpful. It was funny because we've had other meetings where we've offered incentives and gotten like 16 people. And that first night, there was like 250 people that send the forms for to qualify for this gift card.
Yeah, we didn't offer any incentives. I'm listening and I'm thinking about FAFSA, but I just want to say about the FAFSA events that we have and that we're working on with Miami-Dade. I think for me, one of the things that I want to do is make sure that we're doing the legwork, like Miami-Dade College and we're going to do the legwork for the FAFSA event, so each school doesn't have to do it. But then we're going to ask schools to kind of find ways to look at their data and see who hasn't completed it and make a focused attempt to get them on there and be like, you can do it next Wednesday. And then schools will probably come up with their own incentives to make sure that their students are attending. So for me, we're kind of like taking the legwork out of the organization that schools would normally do, and we're going to take that to the district level, but put on the advisors the opportunity of how you're going to get your kids engaged.
Sue would like to know, can communities leverage these virtual CCR activities to offset the negative impact of any potential budget cuts next year from the state? Your thoughts?
So I think so. You know, one of the big things that we talk about is, again, you know, equity and access. And I think being able to produce and see successes is a big deal when we think about like budget cuts and all of those things. Like, you know, we're doing it. We have the resources. Look at all the people that we're impacting. We collect attendance because luckily through Teams, we're able to see a report of who came in, who came out, how long they stayed. I think that's all going to affect once we move forward with, you know, with budget cuts, like to see how many people we've impacted, and we have the data surrounding that. And I think that's really important with anything that we do, to show data and to show like, look at, like, this is really helpful. And this is helping not only, you know, these big picture, you know, kind of situations, but it's also helping mitigate some of the problems that, you know, actual individual schools are having, and being able to use all these resources that we're providing for them.
And we have a few minutes left. I do want to quickly get this question out because I do think you guys share an abundance of it. Could you both share what your, Anthony would like to know, hi Anthony, what your live FAFSA events looked like, who you had as volunteers, how you brought in the experts in the field, registering students and parents for those things. If you both can talk about that a little bit.
I'm sure. So it definitely is a whole production. Our FAFSA events do require a whole village of people, and it really requires conviction and, like, you know, passion. And we have one of our people that work with us, it was a previous BRACE advisor, said we have to do something big, right? And we were like, oh my word, we're already doing this, we're already doing that. And so with our team, we were able to get as many volunteers as possible, and really start thinking about what we're going to do. So we're like, okay, we're going to do a live event. We're going to do a live event. And another one of our team members put out a form, a volunteer form, to everybody, any partner, any community partner that we had, our BRACE advisors, our counselors, you name it. And we asked, what's your level of expertise when it comes to FAFSA? 5 being like you are an expert, to 1 being like, oh, I'm not that great, but I still want to volunteer. And we made sure that we had a place for everybody. So through this Teams platform, we had to create like back channels. So we had to have like a motherboard. So another one of our team members was a motherboard that created these different links for other people. We had to make sure that, you know, the schools already knew that their students had to come in with a FAFSA ID, you know, the FSA ID first. And if they didn't, then we had another room back in the back, you know, the backstage, I guess, the green room for them, these virtual green rooms. And then we had to have 2 moderators, right? So they can kind of go back and forth. And then we had to have probably like 20 to 25 people answering questions. At one point, we had 500 questions come in through the chat. And so these are the experts. Then they have to come in and I remember being in the rooms and I couldn't even answer the question because somebody else had it. So we had, you know, from Trio, Broward College, Kaiser. I mean, we had so many amazing partners, FAU, FIU, really help us to make sure, because everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to do something. So that's when we really now have to depend and rely on our partners. We're going to do something big. We need your help. And so we had BRACE advisors, counselors, you name it, come in and help us. So it is a production. When you do it to this big, large scales of production, we started off small, though. We tried to do it in 2 schools first to see how it worked. And everything like that. Another important person that we did have, we reached out to Microsoft Teams and we were like, we cannot have your site crash. Like, we need help. And they came and they did technical support for us. So wow, another partner to have. And like before, all of our Q&A is anonymous. And so we're able to answer some questions that, the kids probably wouldn't have even asked in brick and mortar, very private questions, and have them not be shown to everybody or just miss inappropriate questions. And then throughout the process, again, celebrating, hey, did you link? Did you link? Where are you at? Where is this at? And then, of course, having that incentive really helped. But with every one of our FAFSA drives, we had to observe, right? Because the first one we had probably like 5 back channels or rooms or whatever, or 10, and they were like, okay, we don't need it that many because people are actually keeping up with the step-by-step FAFSA. So then the next night we had to do smaller, and every time that we had our one of these FAFSA events, we actually had a toolkit and a meeting for all of the volunteers to give them the toolkit, to give them the links to cut and paste, and answer those kind of like questions that always come up. And so one of the things that we really talked about is that customer service friendly way of answering. So from the beginning that you're on with any of our not only FAFSA, but our college and career corners, we're like, thank you. Oh my God, we're so happy that you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And there was never a question that we're like, what? No, it's always like, okay, sure, we're here. How can we answer this? We're going to help you. And then at the end of our FAFSA, if you didn't finish, we had a survey too. So then after that, then we take it to the brace advisors and we offer those people who did not finish individual help as well. So it's definitely something to think about. It's doable, absolutely, but it does take a little bit of planning.
Sharon, you have anything to share about Miami-Dade?
Yeah, I just, we did the one event, which we had over 700 folks on, which was more of a general. We want to get into doing specifically, bring your stuff and let's do it together. But for me, the most important thing, I think what Carol said is really important. Make sure you have enough people to answer questions, because the questions were coming fast and furiously. We felt bad. We weren't even sure if we got to them all in that one event. And then the other thing for me that's really important is to have them in Spanish and Creole, and not just translated, but you really need experts in those languages. Can't just have someone translating in Creole. You really need a FAFSA expert in Creole or whatever other language. And so we're working with Miami-Dade because they have some people in their financial aid offices that are experts in financial aid. So for us, those are really important things to include. And hopefully next time we talk, I'll let you know, because we're going to start in January doing them every other week. I've been picking Carol's brain and anyone else's brain who wants to share information with us. But yeah, that was my biggest advice. Make sure you have enough people to answer questions in every language.
Great, and we look forward to checking in and hearing more about your events in the spring. Carol, Emery asked, and I want to make sure as well, when everyone receives the slides, you'll be able to click on the specific links in the slides that Carol specifically shared on her slides, and also that Sharon included about the flyer. But those links direct you to the Canvas courses that Broward County has. And I wanted to make sure that they were resources that others are able to use. I know one of the links, we talked about it earlier, it did require you to log into a platform, but the other ones, the Canvas courses, are others able to use those as well?
Yes.
Okay.
They're all public. I'll double check on the one that you told me about, but all of everything, his live links is public, ready for anybody to really take advantage of.
Great, thank you. We are a little over the 12 o'clock mark, but I wanted to just want you guys to clarify for those who weren't aware of what the brace advisors and the CAP advisors are and how they differ from regular school advisors or college and career counselors that other schools may have. So if you guys can talk about that.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, so like I said before, our brace advisors are, they really do take on the brunt and majority of college and career for our students. So they are specifically, post-secondary, individuals who learn all about the college process and career process and scholarships and you name it. These most of them are ladies, but we have a couple of gentlemen work really, really hard in just providing all of this information, and it's only one of them per high school. And so, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of concentration on our 12th and 11th grade, and the 9th and 10th graders, you know, of course, they see their school counselor, you know, but we, again, in our district specifically, we have a huge focus on social emotional learning, and that's one of the things that our counselors are really focusing on, of course, with academics. So a lot of the college and career information really relies on our BRACE advisors, and we only have one.
So similarly, our college assistance program advisors are counselors who are dedicated to this post-secondary planning. But I just want to clarify, in our district, it's called the CAP program, right? And we say that because not every school has a CAP advisor. It actually has to be purchased by the principal. I'm really happy to tell you that many of our high schools have them. Almost all of our larger high schools have them, which has changed over the last few years. When I started in this position 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, probably about 50%, and I don't know the percentage, but it's way more than that now, that actually have that position. But I want everyone to know that we've made it clear that every school has a CAP program. So even if there isn't an advisor who's in that position called CAP advisor, that there is a counselor or someone on their student services team who attends the trainings and who does all of these things to make sure that students have their post-secondary plans, they're getting support in those plans, they're filling out the FAFSA, they're getting scholarship information, which is really important, because I think before, if there was no advisor, it was sort of like, is this work happening? So we wanted to make sure that every school has a CAP program, which has been in existence in Miami-Dade County Public Schools for over 30 years. It was started by G. Holmes Braddock, who was the longest running school board member in the history of Miami-Dade County Public Schools over 30 years ago. And it is really just started as college access, but it's all post-secondary planning. And it's in every single high school in our district.
Thank you for the clarification on both of those roles. I apologize for keeping everyone over a little bit. Again, I want to, FCAN wants to thank our cornerstone funder, Helios Education Foundation, and the sponsor, Wells Fargo, for the generous support of the College Ready Florida initiatives. I thank you all very, very much for joining us today. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Sharon, for presenting today, and everyone for joining and participating. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.